I want to do just like about like five or six just fun questions, quick hitters. You can kind of hit them with me. I told you I was gonna bring up some lowlights, so I'm gonna bring up
Yeah,
some lowlights.
all good.
2000 slam dunk contest. All right, you got Vince Carter in there, T Mac in there. I think Baron Davis as well. This is like one of the greatest dunk contests of all time. Some people say it's the greatest dunk contest of all time. People forget you were in there as well. All right, what was it like a confidence thing that happened with the dunks? Like, did it not work out? Because I was watching it, I'm like, man, those dunks were halfway down, right?
Yeah, no, it was an experience thing. Right? It
Okay.
was an experience thing, and not only do they forget that I was in it, they forget everybody in it except Vince and T
Yeah.
Mac, and only
Yeah.
T Mac gets in there because he helped Vince with one of his dunks.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the experience. Right, it was going into All-Star break because remember we didn't have that break my first year, so we were in the lockout. So this was a completely new experience to me with being at work, being a professional player, but then having that time off, which is called All-Star break. And if you finish your game early enough in that week, then you have a number of extra days to party.
Right.
And that's really what I did, right? I had parties in Philadelphia, I had parties in St. Louis, I had parties in Oakland. So I was in no shape to do any sort of dunks or anything like that. I was really just there
Yeah.
for the experience. And I can say, regardless of the dunk contest, I mean, that was one of the best experiences of my life. I mean, it rained in Oakland. I could remember the day of the dunk contest. I didn't bring enough clothes because I was traveling from Philadelphia to St. Louis to Oakland. So I had to walk in the rain and go buy new clothes. This was hours before the dunk contest. So ultimately, I didn't take it serious. It's
Right.
really, long story short, is I
Okay.
didn't take it as a business trip. I
Yeah.
really, went out and had fun. I took all my buddies out.
Well,
And,
that's how it should be, though. That's how it should be, realistically.
yeah, I mean, it just so happened that the game was, that the contest was captured on TV, and all of my extracurricular activities weren't. But I had way more fun,
Right.
at that dunk contest than making dunks.
Right.
But it's a part of history.
Yeah, it is. It is. And hey, man, you got a front row seat for what was the history, right?
Short story, real quick though, real
Go for
quick.
it. Go
So
for it.
we're in warm-ups, and we're having fun. We get a chance to warm up, and Vince is just, the night before I saw Vince in the hotel. Vince did not go out the entire time. Vince was just watching people leave and like, yeah, pointing at us like, okay, yeah, I got you guys when you get back. So during warm-ups, Vince is jumping up and taking the basketball and just dropping the ball down in the hoop. So he's jumping about 12, 13 feet above the hoop. And he's just dropping the ball in. So I'm like, man,
That's disgusting.
yeah, this
Oh,
is a big show. So that's what I thought, going into my first dunk. It's like, man, he
yeah.
just jumped and put his whole shoulder in the rim. How am I going to compete with that? So
Right.
go ahead.
Okay. That's crazy in its own, man. He's jumping 12, 13 feet. That's wild. You grew up with Nelly in St. Louis. Is that true? I saw that on the internet. I didn't know if that was actually true.
Yeah. We grew up in, he's from we grew up in the same, we lived in the same area for a period of time, which is University City, and we would both visit the same park. Like he play, I think he played all sports, mainly baseball,
Mm-hmm.
but the basketball courts were right across from the baseball diamond, so we would all hook up at the park, and that's how I met Nelly.
That's really interesting to picture Nelly playing baseball. That's like I wouldn't have never in my life would have imagined that. Did you see Nelly versus Luda, the rap battle by any chance?
I did.
You did? Okay.
I did.
So who won that one? Because it's a bit of a split decision. You sticking with Nelly?
No, I think Luda was
Okay.
more organized.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? He just laid it out
Yeah.
as, everybody's watching, let's really get to the money. And I think Nelly, he just kind of was just out to have a good time.
Right.
But Luda, he was like,
Yeah,
business.
He was ready. Yeah, he had a whole
Yeah.
playlist ready. You're right.
Yeah.
Do you think there's potential for an NBA team to come to St. Louis? Like, is that even of something of interest for you guys in St. Louis? Or
I would hope so. I would hope so. We obviously our football team left. Our baseball team is every other year great. You know, a hockey team just won a championship.
Yep.
And I think the city can support it. I mean, our infrastructure is growing. Our downtown city is growing. They're pumping a lot of dollars into the city. So I would hope so. I mean, I know we had a few chances, you know, over the years with the Vancouver team,
Yeah.
and I believe the Charlotte team as well, where our name was in the hat.
For sure. I
But
mean,
we just
St. Louis is always a city that's been mentioned. Like whether it's always in contention for potentially moving to.
I would love it. Sign me up. I'm the ambassador. I would love it.
All right, cool. What? Any suggestions for a name for a St. Louis basketball team? Yeah.
You know what? I actually posed this question on my Twitter.
Okay. All right.
You know what? We were the Spirits back, you know, way back when, and that name really draws a lot of attention. And if we could, like, you know how, you know, the Bobcats brought the Hornets back. I mean, I think that if we would come back and we're original,
Right.
I think that would go a long way in a lot of different households.
That's interesting. I like that. It would also, like, you know, it'd be generational, right? Like a lot of people would. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Also, true or not, I don't know. I saw you had an IMDb, and then I looked and I'm like, you've been in a couple of different shows and TV and movies. Sharknado, Dark Secret. Is this true? Perfect Jim. Is any of this true?
That is not true. That is not true. And if I had a dollar for every time I was asked if I was on Sharknado,
yeah,
I'd be rich right now.
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
No.
Okay, all right. I'm good. So you no acting experience at all. I was gonna ask for some pointers, bro. No, all right, okay, you're good.
No. I've been in some music videos. I've been in, you know, Nelly and Rick Ross and Dilemma with Kelly and Murphy Lee, you know, our hometown guys.
Yeah.
You know, and some Philadelphia guys as well. But the videos and the video shoots is as close as I've gotten to, you know, on camera, prime time.
That's funny. Okay, all right, cool. One-on-one, if you had to go with all the greats that you've played with, AI, Jordan, LeBron, Gilbert, how many of them are you beating? Even if you want to add any of the other players that you would think of.
Shit, I'm beating them all, man. Yeah, I'm beating them all. You know, I would. I love competition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think MJ is the greatest of all times. I think is a mentality even in a one-on-one game. I would love to experience that. I don't think we played during our time in DC.
Mm-hmm.
But really, man, I'm my bad. I'm winning.
All right. You're locking them down. I like it. I like the energy, man. You got to have that confidence if you're a hoop. I know I asked your favorite players right now, but I did want to talk about, like, the NBA draft, because I know you're very vocal on how the draft is right now. What do you think is the biggest flaw in terms of the NBA draft right now?
I don't. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe it's the timing, and maybe it's you know, when some of the trades happen. You know, the ability to earn, you know, the restricted pick versus, you know, the pick that's wide open, could change a little bit in my opinion. I think that I like to see the good players get to better teams, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because these guys are so good when they come out of college, they've gotten all of this fanfare and you know, understanding that they're going to be a high pick, but a high pick is not always good because you're going to a team that's not necessarily good unless there's a trade or something that's involved where a good team actually captures that pick. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like we award these, you know, give all these guys all this credit, you know, these high school guys all this credit, and you know, they go to college and they do great things, and then they get to the pros and they get to a team that's not geared up or lined for success, and then their games take a hit, or their their abilities take a hit because of the situation that they got dropped into. And I think that that's just life. But you asked if there was anything that I thought could change, and that's just something that I just, you know, it's not always good to be the best player in college because you may not get to the team that makes the most sense for your ability and your pedigree.
Right. There was this conversation on Twitter recently of completely just eliminating the NBA draft and have like a free agency type of thing where worse teams can offer rookies better money, but the better teams can offer rookies less money. That could be something that works a little bit better in your version of this thing. You know what I mean? Like a player like Jason Tatum who went to Boston kind of got lucky because they were in a right situation, right time, but not everybody is afforded that, right?
Exactly. And I tell them all the time, you got to be grateful at that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be grateful to be the third pick and to get dropped into that situation. That is not something that happens, once every 3, 5. I mean, once every 10 years maybe. But that is a great situation to drop into.
One of the guys that you actually had the chance to play with, it was in that situation too with Derrick Rose, right? Like I think you guys had like the 0.9% chance of landing the first overall pick. You guys land it, draft D Rose, and the Bulls. That you guys become very good as well. So like that's another aspect of it. I want to talk about your late career with the Knicks. More specifically, I want to talk about what you think about the Knicks right now and what can get them out of the gutter in terms of the NBA and just fix the franchise for me if you can, Larry.
Well, the Knicks for me, man, it was a situation. I wanted to get out of Chicago because as an older guy, being told that, hey, we're going to play the younger guys and, there may not be any minutes for you and still being under contract. So that was an escape for me. Is that the ideal place that I wanted to go? No, it wasn't the ideal place that I wanted to go, but, that's what happened. In order to get out of that situation, I had to be dropped into another one. But being in New York, I mean, it wasn't a recipe for success. I mean, all of the guys that were on the team, I mean, we were on 1-year deals.
Yeah.
There weren't any expectations, internally there weren't any expectations. Everything was outside. So everything that we did inside didn't have a winning expectation to it. It was just the outsiders that was really dumping that information on. And, I can't speak for the situation now, but I know if your organization internally, they're not expected to do great things or make the playoffs or build that winning culture, then all of those outside expectations, those things just fall on the players.
Right.
And it becomes the players' fault that things aren't getting done. So I looked at the Knicks situation as like we were just kind of, just trying to make it through the next year. Maybe they were lining up for, the great free agency year or whatever it was.
Right.
But, team with 9 players on 1-year deals is not a team that's going to, win any games.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll ask you 2 more questions, then I'll have you answer. Which team would you want to play for now? If you peak Larry Hughes here, this is 2004-2005 season. We could slot you into 2020. Which team would you play for right now and why?
Oh, that's a good question. It would be Boston.
Okay, play with Jason.
It would be Boston. There's a winning culture there. There's obviously Jason's there, and I think that in one of these worlds, one of these virtual worlds, to play with with one of the youngins would be good for me.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I think you'd work perfectly in that system as well. The last thing I'll ask you, actually, like two quick questions in a sense. Kobe Bryant and his impact on you. What are some things you can give us in terms of his impact on your life?
Well, he was, obviously we're a couple of years younger. Obviously, we went to the league straight from the NBA, and being in the Midwest. During that time, the world wasn't so small where you can pop into social media and, see Kobe playing or see the highlights. So I didn't really put all of that together. But when I was traded out to Golden State from Philadelphia, and this was, obviously during the Lakers, their heyday when they were just thrashing everybody. Mm-hmm. Those days were the greatest because I got a chance to compete against Kobe, more times than I thought was necessary. But as I look back on it, I'm grateful I had that opportunity because in Golden State, we would go to Hawaii and do training camp, and the Lakers would do training camp in Hawaii as well. So we would always have, the 4 times we play them, during the regular season, plus another, 3 or 4 times we would play them in the preseason. But Kobe was a guy that I loved to compete against, a guy that would like MJ, would check your temperature to see where you were at. We didn't speak on the court. There was a handshake. There was a head nod. But there was an understanding that I'm here to compete and I'm not here to be your friend. And I respect that, and that's what I've learned just as I reflect on his, him being gone, is that sending a message and you're not doing it, it's not malicious, but the message is sent. And I think that that's something that I take away, from any great players, that you want to hold your own and you want to stand your ground and state your claim to what you own. And I feel like Kobe felt like he owned the basketball court. So anytime you entered into that space, that was his space. And he would show you that he would stand his ground, and it would be a tooth and nail battle, from then on. So that's, that's what I, remember the most. And as I reflect back on the things that I appreciate from Kobe, is just that, that mentality of, hold your own, and, see where you're at.
Okay. I got you. And yeah, I mean, his impact on everybody's life is really something tremendous, like Mamba mentality, right? Mount Rushmore. Give me your top 4 all time. If you want to add a 5th, you can add a 5th as well. Go for it. But give me your Mount Rushmore.
I have MJ. I have Shaq. I have Kobe. I have Bron, and I got Magic. That's 5, right?
Yeah, that's 5 right there. That's a solid 5.
That's 5.
That's a solid 5.
That's 5. Yeah.
That's actually the exact same top 5 I have. Probably not in the same order, but it's like the exact same top 5 I have. Which brings me just to this final point. Right now you see everybody comparing players, right? Like yesterday, the conversation was Steph Curry versus James Harden. A while back, everybody's been talking about LeBron versus MJ, right? Is it different when a former player compares a player because they can't look at them in the same light the media does and, look at their greatness and everything like that? For them, you were a competitor.
Yep.
Is it different when that happens?
I think it is different, but I think it's a different space that we're in also, because a number of former players are jumping into the media category. And, if the player's going to jump into the media category, then that question spreads wide.
Right.
So, yeah, but I would prefer that the media players that aren't, that they weren't professional players, have those conversations as opposed to, former players. Because right. it varies a little bit when you talk about the different eras and who you're willing to give credit to, who you're not willing to give credit to, what sort of battles that you had, what sort of advantages that you feel that player had. So it's a lot of bias. There's bias that goes into a player, creating, that list or having that conversation where that guy's still playing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. I mean, you see it right now with like Kendrick Perkins, Paul Pierce, like all those guys. They're bringing up this conversation, and it's just something interesting to see. We're going to have to keep moving forward. Larry, man, thank you very much. This was an absolute awesome interview. Hopefully we'll have more time and maybe, hey, man, if you're in Toronto at any point in time, we do have a studio here. Hopefully when COVID-19 goes away and disappears for good, you can come on over and we can do a in-studio interview as well. But, man, thank you very much for coming on to True Sports TV, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. I'd love to. Like you said, we just want to stay safe, stay healthy, and make sure we're doing everything we can to keep your neighbor and the person next to you as healthy as possible.
Absolutely, man. Can't say it any better than that, man. All right.